We are live. This is your proprietor, Tony Ortega. I'm with Mark Bunker. Hey,
Hello.
Mark. Um, I didn't realize I could be watching that meeting live until it dawned on me I could. And so I pulled it up and I did manage to see what all the city council members said.
Okay.
I did not get to see you. So please tell us the scene, everything that you saw going in, what you said, what some of the other members of the public said, and what was your main concern tonight?
Well, I thought it was Scientology. I told them to vote for the no, I didn't. Um, so it was interesting. Going into the meeting, I knew this is going to pass. The council is going to give them everything that they want, but at least come and make a point. And I did get three other people to give me a minute each. I had crafted a message that was 3 minutes long for my time. And then I put together some questions I wanted to ask to see if they'd answer. And turned out the answer was no. And that was the most amazing thing to me. I got up, there were a number of people who wanted to speak against Scientology getting this deal. I think there was one, maybe two people who were saying, yeah, give it to Scientology. One was very hard to hear because he was a very old man. I mean, really old. And I couldn't quite make out most of what he was saying, but it sounded like those Scientologists are good people. so,
Wow. Wow.
at any rate, uh, but the bulk of the people were there to protest it. And when I went in, uh, my one of my competitors in the race came up to me, and actually he sat next to me. Mike, who was the fellow who drew most of the, he came in third, and he drew those votes for me that from me that lost me the race. And he met me and extended his hand and said, "I am sorry, I ran against you." And and I mean that was nice of him to say, but I was still a little shell shocked. And so I kind of acknowledged it, but then I went and grabbed my paperwork to fill out to be a speaker, and came back and I thought, oh, well, that was nice of him to say. So I did thank him for that, and we kind of discussed all of the horrific things that happened tonight. Um, but as I said, when I went in, I knew that it was going to be, well, probably 4-1. I heard that Lena was going to vote against it, and that everybody else was supporting it. It turned out that the mayor uh, supported or voted against this as well. So it was 3-2, and that's all you need to win.
Right.
So either way, it's Scientology's night. Um, but I tell you, so damn frustrating. I went up there with my carefully crafted 3 minute speech, and I regret giving it
Why?
because I wasted a lot of time in historical reasons why you shouldn't trust Slappy. Although I didn't call him Slappy, I would not have regretted that. But my basic argument was Miscavige tells you he wants a vibrant downtown for his people. And his people have been flying into Clearwater for decades, spending all their money and all their time doing courses and getting rid of their body thetans. Has this been a booming downtown in all those decades? No. When they opened up, or when they did the groundbreaking for the flag building in 1998, they told us then it's going to bring hundreds of thousands of people downtown. Did it? No. Why would you believe him now when he
Yeah.
tells you he's going to make this a thriving downtown for his people?
Right.
And I did, because I knew they were going to do it anyway. I did suggest, urging them to hold on to the strip. It was or street rather. It was the only chip they had left. And if you do give Miscavige what he wants, at the very least, rename Franklin Street Lisa McPherson Way, and give the hall an address that will stand as a true reminder of Scientology's legacy in the city. So that was the end of my comments. And since I had three people signing cards saying that you can each have my minute, I thought, oh, I've got 3 minutes. It turned out I only had one for some reason. And I had questions I was going to ask. I hope I could get some answers to. And I started out by flattering our city attorney, who I really like. I said, I know you crafted a lot of safety measures into whatever deal this is. Would you possibly be able to give us an idea of what those are? And I looked at him, and he glared back at me, not in an angry way, but just in a stony way, and that stunned me. And I looked at everybody else on the council, and they all had the same glare on their face. It was like, oh, geez, I actually reacted to it there. But it's a shame that they didn't take any questions. And you heard me do a little outburst from the audience later when Menino was going on with this. We need to have an open dialogue, and well, then answer some questions.
Right.
Mr. Bunker, have some respect. And like, okay. But
Well,
there
let
were
me
other
just
things
let,
that I.
let me just for those maybe who aren't familiar exactly with what's going down, let me lay out the basics of this situation. As Mark was explaining, that for so many years Scientology has promised that they're going to do their own revitalization of downtown, and it's never come true. And in fact, Miscavige got so angry in 2017 that the city wouldn't give him one little parcel he coveted, that he had his wealthier members go on a buying spree, and the properties that either Scientology or Scientologists controlled more than doubled. That was the amazing work done by Tampa Bay Times reporter Tracy McManus. And of course, Scientology, when she came out with that story, they were saying, hey, just because Scientologists have bought this property doesn't mean the church controls it. But everything we've seen since then is, of course, that Dave does control it all. And he's just sitting on these properties. And I
And he
remember
did. Oh, I'm sorry.
when
Go
you
ahead.
were on when you were on the council, you would say, "Look, land swaps are going to come up, and that's fine. We know that Scientology has some leverage, and they're going to want some parcels, but let's just make sure we get something in return." Because while you were on the council, the city was making some real strides forward, adding this park and the venue there, and the apartments on the bluff that are coming. Real progress. Scientology wants to be a part of that? Well, they can. They just need to do something with the properties they're sitting on. So the reason why this new thing that came up tonight is so sort of obnoxious is that, and I have to say, I actually did learn a couple things, Mark, listening to those city council members. One thing was that they own the property they need for L. Ron Hubbard Hall. And
Yeah.
it's not even clear to the city council why they want that little road between the flag building and the performance hall. They were admitting themselves tonight, even though they voted to give it to Scientology, they
Yeah.
were admitting themselves, we're not even sure why they want this. They don't need it to build their hall. I
Well,
thought that was also an amazing thing.
I mean, it is amazing, sure. But I thought that part of the hall was stretching over that street, which is why they needed it. And then at the end of the street would be that wonderful little park that they create for the city with the 21 L. Ron Hubbard Perceptics as part of it. And one of the council members in his arguments for why he was voting is anyone can go sit in that park and enjoy it. Oh, yeah, well, let me try.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've seen what that's happened in other parts, little parks they've created that they're totally creepy. Nobody wants to go there. And so they want this little street as part of that project. And so what they were voting on tonight was what's called a vacation. They're going to clear out that road. It's no longer going to be a road. Scientology can do what they want to it. And I wasn't aware until tonight that Scientology has to pay $1.3 million, which for Scientology is no big deal.
Yeah.
And then there's more steps to it. But the important thing is, as you were saying, and we also heard from Lena Teixeira tonight, where is something from Scientology in return? This is the thing we need. They're sitting on all these properties downtown. They're not doing anything. And so that was the thing that you had told me that we talked about in the stories the last couple of days is how do you just let Dave have what he wants without getting something from Dave? He's keeping this. And, you and I know the answer, of course, is that people need to understand what the flag land base is. It's not a um, outreach center for the public. Scientology is not trying to recruit new people at the flag land base. It's the secretive, higher, upper level, sort of collegiate level stuff that people, Scientologists, fly in from around the world to spend top dollar weeks and months at this place. It's the financial engine of Scientology. Dave does not want the public anywhere near there. And that's why he's going to continue to sit on these projects and not do anything. And this council's too stupid to realize it. So
Well, Tony,
I don't know.
Tony, you're leaving something important out here. As my
What's
replacement
that?
Ryan Cotton explained from the dais there, you haven't seen Scientology's video. It's
See, now
gorgeous.
he said that. I think we have seen it. I think we
I'm sure
published
it's
it
up.
at the bunker. I gotta try to find that.
Yeah, I
Um,
imagine it's available. Hey, it's such a beautiful building. It looks like the other buildings there. Well, yeah, that's what they do. They'll make a very beautiful building that fits in with their campus, and it will have the name L. Ron Hubbard on it. For God's sakes, how can you not understand what a disaster that is for downtown? Uh,
I know. Yeah, you made that point so well yesterday in that um why would the people of Clearwater want this new monument to L. Ron Hubbard? How does that help the city move forward? And they're talking about it also being a museum to Hubbard, right? Didn't you tell
right.
me that they were talking about a museum in a slightly different place, but now I guess they're going to combine them?
Yeah, yeah, that's the deal. They were trying to swap a piece of property for the museum, but I think they just decided finally to put it in with the hall. I think that makes the most sense. I'd rather have it in the hall. They can put in a L. Ron Hubbard bowling alley and a bistro, as far as I'm concerned, as well. Um, but the problem is that that is the main road that goes right past the L. Ron Hubbard Hall is the road to the beach. And so you can't miss this tribute to Hubbard. How anyone thinks that this is going to be anything positive, I don't know. But these guys are convinced, oh, we can make a deal. And then, David Miscavige, isn't he dreamy? I got to meet him. Uh,
Well,
David
that's, I mean,
Miscavige promised us. Go
Ryan
ahead.
Cotton kept talking about how the building is going to look great. The building's going to look great. I mean, who's going to want to go near it? It's
Yeah,
like you said, it's going to say L. Ron Hubbard all over. It's going to say Scientology, and it is going to be the thing you see on your way to the beach, which is one of the
right.
most important things to them.
And let me point out the things that I wanted to point out, and I wish I had just put into my 3 minutes. Even though I wouldn't get an answer to them, but I think these are important points that they have to think about. Miscavige is promising to activate the downtown. He's promising once again to do the stuff that he promised to do in 2017, and the council at that point said, no, we don't want to do that, have you put up facades in all the buildings, and because it's going to be Scientology's downtown and people won't come down to Scientology's downtown. Still the central point. um, so the deal now, and Miscavige has been having this done by snapping his fingers. There are three properties that they're redesigning, and that video's been out there for a couple of years. Oh boy, they look nice. Well, what's going to go in them? Is there a business that's going to go in them? Have you started recruiting somebody? And that's my general point I wanted to ask about. So what if Miscavige comes through and puts lovely facades on all the buildings so it looks like the Way to Happiness and CCHR and that empty, void of buildings where that look creepy? So what if he turns the entire downtown into beautiful looking buildings like that with a uniform kind of style, and
Right.
then there aren't any businesses in them?
Yeah.
So there'll be pretty looking buildings that are empty. Or what if he puts a business in them that goes out of business in a month or two?
Yeah.
What happens then? Do we have a guarantee from Miscavige he's going to recruit another business in there? Because that was his deal. So he was saying to the city back then, at least, let me take care of it all. I got a guy in Tampa who's a recruiter for businesses. We'll get him to put businesses in here. We'll bring in. I just got a text from Tracy McManus saying you were the voice of reason tonight, Mark. And I didn't read what else she had there because it went dot dot dot. But that was nice of her to have been watching. Um, so so he's made all these promises. He's still again promising an entertainment complex, which Lena brought up. Well, you've been talking about that. How come you haven't done it?
Nothing's stopping him from doing it, right, Mark?
Nothing, nothing. And I said that through my entire time on the council. What is stopping him? He's got everything he needs. And I got to tell you, I got worked up tonight. I didn't expect to because I knew it was going to happen, but listening to these arguments tonight, it was so frustrating. Um, so what was I?
Well,
Okay.
let me tell you some of the things that I saw. I mean, Ryan
Yeah.
Cotton went first of the city council members, and I noticed that a couple of times he used the word hopefully. Hopefully, David Miscavige will come through. Hopefully, it's like, well, that just tells you you don't know David Miscavige at all. If that's how you the word you're using.
Yeah.
Um, And then the other thing that he was saying, like I said, was just how beautiful the project's going to be. And
Oh
he
yeah.
kept, and you also said he kept saying, "I wish they'd show the public that 15-minute video." I think I've got it. I got to dig through my files and see if I can't find that video. But I think we
And,
made fun of it before.
and
But
if the people of Clearwater all gathered together to watch that video on a big IMAX screen, they still go, "We don't want that.
no,
What the
no,
hell? That's the last thing we want downtown." Oh, somebody was comparing it to the Vatican. And
right.
okay, can we wall off Scientology? I'll vote for that.
Well, speaking of the Vatican, the next person that spoke was Mike Menino, and I just thought it was interesting that he was all for it, and that he finished his statement by saying he's just going to be guided by Jesus Christ, which,
Mhm.
I don't know, it just seems to me is so inappropriate for a city council secular setting to bring up your religion that way. But what my question was, does Mike Menino know that Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard can be heard on tape saying there was no Christ?
I
Does he
don't.
have any idea what Scientology is actually about? So
I
he
don't
seems
know. When he ran against me back in 2020, he was saying some things critical of Scientology because he wanted to make sure I didn't own that. And I got to tell you, as far as religion goes, and I like Mike. I enjoyed doing my debates with him, and I have nothing against Mike Menino. But I will say, when it comes to the religion stuff, the first time I met him was when I was doing the signature gathering to get onto the ballot back in 2020. And I went to this block party in one of the neighborhoods, which is where what's his name built a huge condo right on the waterfront that this neighborhood hated. Um, but I came there and I got so much support from everybody on that street. And I went back there when I ran again, and they were going around getting signatures for me while everyone was having brats and burgers and listening to music and having fun. Um, So the first time I'm there, I meet Mike and his wife. And his wife says, Mark, can we pray together? Okay. So we all had to hold hands, and she prayed to Jesus that we would all be nice to one another, and this would not be a negative campaign, and we can all be friends. All right. Amen.
Okay, sure.
Then I won, and I looked on Facebook. She was saying the most horrendous things about me. So there you go.
Well,
When I hear Mike talking about Jesus and Christian, okay, well, thanks for living it.
yeah, he
Uh,
did. He did. He just doesn't seem to understand the situation very well. The next person to speak was Lena. David Albertin might have spoken next, but anyway, I thought it was interesting to see that Lena's um, objections were very close to your own, and basically saying, and she also pointed out some things that I thought were really good, and she was pointing
mhm,
out that because Ryan Cotton was trying to make it look like it's just a little back street, nobody uses it, it's not important, and they're going to make most of it green space. Ooh, it's going to be like this wonderful park that, of course, nobody's going to want to go through. But
right.
and then Lena's like, no, this is not just some out of the way street. This is an important avenue right in the middle of town. She uses it every day to get to City Hall. And she really made a great case for how everything's interconnected. When you're trying to revive a downtown and you're trying to have a certain amount of private enterprise, public offices, people looking for entertainment, there's a network to all that, and this just disrupts that. I thought she made a great point with that. And then she
I,
also made the point that you're making, that what are we getting in return? How are we going to get Miscavige to come through with these other projects? And so that's why she was voting no. And
mhm.
then after she went, then Mayor Rector went. And I thought he was just going to be another rubber stamp like with Ryan Cotton and Mike Menino. And no, he made the same point that, look, it's nice that they're going to pay some money, but that's just a real estate deal. I'm interested in more the bigger picture, he said, and whether this fits in with the downtown and what it's going to look like. And his objection was very interesting, that they haven't seen a site plan. In other words, Scientology is saying, trust us, trust us, trust us. And the mayor wasn't ready for that. So it was interesting to me that he voted no. Now, two no votes wasn't enough,
Yeah.
but that was interesting to see, don't you think?
And well, it makes it easier to vote no when you know there are three people who are going to pass it anyway. I mean, honestly, that's the type of thing. Well, it doesn't fall on my shoulders if I don't have to vote yes, and it will still be approved. I can say I'm tough on Scientology. Um, so I try to think the best of everyone on the council. I saw them all on the campaign trail. I tried to be friends with all of them, tried to remain that way. And I got to tell you, when Aaron was running against Lena, and they asked me from the dais, well, Mark, how are you going to work with Lena if she gets elected? I said, I'll be professional, for God's sakes. What's so hard about that? Um, but I do have to say, and of course, this is going to get right back to the mayor. I think he can sense that I have not been as charitable to him because I continued to see him on the campaign trail lying, especially about
Mm.
the fact that we voted for a $91 million city hall, for God's sakes, when we were actually we had 30 million set aside for it. We voted on $31 million for it. And then I went to the groundbreaking ceremony, and I mentioned this to him tonight as I was shaking hands. At the groundbreaking ceremony, he got up there and said, well, we on this council worked very, very hard to bring the cost of the project down to $33 million. Okay. So you're trying to explain why you're supporting this
Yeah,
now that you're forced to support it, and you're saying
right.
you something great here. So that's the type of thing that I don't have a lot of respect for. And I saw him do a lot of that type of stuff on the campaign trail. And what the heck? I think he already knows that I have some qualms about him. Anyway,
Well, Pick Another ID asks, they say it's going to be open green space and it's going to be a public park, but will they kick out SPs like Mark Bunker? I think they absolutely will.
Of course, of course. I'm wondering if Miscavige opens up a movie theater, well, whether I'd be allowed to go to the movies.
Mm,
Honestly, I am worried about that. Well, not worried. There's other movie theaters around, but I was kicked out of restaurants, and when we filed complaints, they said, "Well, it's not religious discrimination um, because it's not your religion." Huh? You're still there's Jeff Jacobson and I went and had a lunch one day across the street at a little restaurant from the LMT. We didn't know it was Scientologist. We went, we had a nice meal. We didn't say anything about Scientology at all. We left the restaurant, and as we got out the door, the guy came up to us and said, "It's my wife's restaurant, and you guys were great. You didn't cause any trouble, but you're not welcome here again." Okay. All right. So who's going to be controlling who gets to come and go in those businesses? That's what I'd like to know.
yeah.
Miscavige will be controlling the entire downtown. If they don't want alcohol served, which they don't, they can put pressure on these businesses. Right now, in the buildings owned by Scientologists, where there are businesses in there, uh, they're giving them only month to month leases.
Mm,
They're backing up the prices. And I heard from one restaurant owner about another one. I won't name names, but um, he told me that they close. This other restaurant closes whenever there's a concert on because the owner of his building, the Scientologist, said, "We want a kickback of what you earned that night for the extra business." And the guy said, "I'm just going to shut down instead." So if they're going to micromanage how business is done, if they're going to have the Scientology sword of Damocles over these business owners' heads, how's that going to work out? And uh, again, as I said, if business goes out of business and Miscavige is happy to go, "Oh, geez, no one wants to do business down here because of us." Well, oh well. I tell you what we should do. Let's just tear down all the buildings that we own, and why don't we put up condos for wealthy Scientologists to fill the downtown here, so they can live right there by Flag. They can walk over to the concert hall. It'll be a nice little Hubbardville right here. What's to stop that from happening? And I wanted
yeah.
to ask, okay, what type of guarantees do we have in any type of deal we're doing that this type of thing is not going to happen? And why aren't you even considering it?
Yeah.
But I was not allowed to ask any questions.
Mm.
So if I'd known that beforehand, I would have just made all of those questions my 3-minute comment. Because now I feel I just blew it.
No, you didn't.
Although
I
I do,
mean,
and the one thing that I do like as a closing sentence in my argument was at least rename the street to Lisa McPherson Way. And I know the city's not going to do that, but God, they should. And it'd be wonderful if there's an intergalactic letter writing campaign to say that is a wonderful idea. We support that. And for God's sakes, why don't Scientologists want to remember Lisa McPherson? Honor her, for God's sakes. Might start to go a little bit towards the way of the public going, oh, oh, maybe they're reforming just by having her name on the sign. But it will never happen.
no, come on. Dave was her case supervisor when she lost her mind, and he had decided she was clear. And clearly, I mean, he knows he's tied into that.
Yeah, but you could
So,
say, well, my bad. That was irresponsible. And I tell you what, we've learned our lesson. They may have said that, and we know they'll never learn their lesson. But if they put her name on the sign, so L. Ron Hubbard Hall is at 1 Lisa McPherson Way, I think that would be a nice compromise.
I mean,
So
I
say,
think in the realm of reality would have been just, give say to Miscavige, okay, you get, two of those businesses put in there on Cleveland Street that you've been saying you're going to do forever. And once we see some leases signed, then we'll give you the street. I mean, at least some kind of a,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's why I said it's the one chip you have here. Use it. Make sure that something gets done, even if it's just those 3 buildings they've been working on restoring for a year or two now. Uh, put something in there, and then we can talk.
right.
But no, we gotta agree to this tonight because well, we haven't seen all the details or the site plan, but I know we trust Miss Gavage.
That was an interesting moment when I don't know if it was the city attorney or whoever it was, told them that one of their options tonight was to wait,
Yeah,
and,
you can just put this on.
both Lena and the mayor had said, we haven't seen enough information here. I thought with 2 votes, maybe they would be able to just sort of like kick this down the road a little bit, but no, they wanted to get it over with.
And I tell you, that would have been simple. That would have happened because it happened all the time when I was on the council. If somebody said, especially if it's the mayor said, why don't we hold off on this, get a little more information, and we'll vote on it at the next meeting. Come back and give us this information. That would have been so simple. So that
How
all
hard would it
makes
have been, for
me
example, for them to say, go back to Scientology, tell them to make the video public? There's no reason why they haven't, and give us a site plan, and then we'll think about it again. I thought for a moment after both Lena Teixeira and the mayor said they were voting no, I thought they might kick it down the road a bit, but no, they went for it, got it over
oh, so,
with.
so I mean the folks who were sitting around me were going, yeah, yeah, do that. But deep down, I knew they weren't going to.
Right.
Again, if the 2 no votes really wanted to have a little more time, they could have done that easily and argued and allowed the public to come back and give some more arguments, which I think is really why they want to get this over with. They decided there after years and years of talking to Slappy that they'll just get this over with. And trust me, people in Clearwater, when you see the video, you're going to love it. You're going to
Did
think
that
they did
come
the right thing.
Mark, did that come up tonight at all? Did anybody say anything about them meeting with Miscavige privately in the recent weeks?
Well, it was not discussed openly like that. Although, I mean, clearly they did talk about the fact that they have uh, seen all the details. I don't think anyone said, "I sat down with Miscavige, and here's what he told me."
Nobody said that. No,
Nobody said that at all. Mm-mm.
that's interesting. Kate Borstein's asking about the political balance in Clearwater, and I think it tends to be kind of a Republican town in general. I think on local issues like this, however, I think it's not necessarily a right left thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
I mean, that I can guarantee. Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Whig Party. Everyone hates Scientology. That's a given. I got so many votes from both parties. I had people with MAGA hats at my get-togethers. Um, you know, it's it's not hard to say something negative about Scientology, unless unless you just want to pretend that you're getting something done.
mm,
Oh, after 50 years of all this talk back and forth, we're just going to make the downtown blossom now. Whereas, we were on the verge of making some progress, as you mentioned, uh, with the park and the amphitheater and the apartments that are going up. And there is a major museum that's been in negotiations that Lena actually brought to the talks that would take over the first floor of the library, which would be a big draw. What they have planned in there, if it gets agreed to, would be something terrific for the city and the citizens, and would be a popular place to visit. We're throwing all that away. It's amazing. It's stunning.
Yeah, it's
And
and Ryan Cotton did talk tonight like some big thing was happening, and it's just you're getting a monument to L. Ron Hubbard in Clearwater. That's a move backwards.
yeah,
It's already enough of a stain on the city that Scientology has this stranglehold. Now you're going to erect a monument to Hubbard, and that's supposed to help things?
yeah, and I honestly do believe they think Miscavige is going to come through with what he promised. Yeah, no,
Well, like I said, I think people don't seem to understand that um, they're not trying to attract new people at the Flagland base. They want the very experienced people with a lot of money who've flown in from Mexico and Hungary and England and Japan to come in and spend thousands of dollars a week to get this special processing they can only get there. And David Miscavige does not want the curious public coming around. Like I remember, um, they had at one point there was a rendering of a planned development where they were going to put a Gordon Biersch with balconies overlooking the back of the Fort Harrison Hotel. And I don't know if I pointed it out to you at the time, or I was talking to somebody. I said, "Do you realize if they do this, we'll be able to sit out on that patio with a beer and look directly at the cabana where they killed Lisa McPherson."
yeah,
Of course, David Miscavige does not want this kind of thing going in there. The last thing he wants is this is it's gigantic movement of all these outsiders, tourists, curious people walking around and trying to find Scientologists and looking at the buses and stuff. He doesn't want that. They want to operate in secrecy because that's where they're making so much money on these Scientologists who have flown in, and they are not trying to recruit people off the street there.
and I tell you, I honestly do feel that ultimately the best game plan for Scientology is knock down all those businesses, build the condos. It's Hubbardville. This is our paradise. Um, and I wanted to hear from the city attorney that no, that's not possible. In our city charter, you cannot put up condos in a business district, but there is one for Tom Cruise right at the end of the block. It's right in there. So why
Well,
can't
what about that
why can't
project
it be
that?
on every block? I'm sorry.
Remember? I think it was because of COVID, and you were elected right in the middle of the cold lockdowns.
Yeah.
And so your first year and a half, 2 years on the council, you were struggling with all of those things.
Mhm.
And so, everybody was struggling. All cities were struggling with their
Yeah.
businesses failing and everything. And at the time, who was the mayor at that point? It was the guy that took off eventually.
Hibbard, Mayor Hibbard.
Hibbert. That Hibbert was saying we need to help these businesses. We need to cut out red tape. And so there was this temporary ordinance or something you guys passed to lower the red tape. And so
Right.
what did Scientology do to take advantage of it? Moises Agami, the wealthy Mexico City Scientologist, proposed these two sky high
Oh my
condo
God.
towers
I
that
forgot.
never would have been allowed under normal situations. But because the regulations had been lowered for the COVID era, he planned these two gigantic twin towers right on the edge of the water, which would probably be uh, an engineering nightmare. Do you know? Is he still planning on that?
I haven't heard anything about it since then. I got to tell you, part of the change in reducing that red tape was these projects would never come back to the council again for approval. So once I read about those towers in the paper, too late. Nothing the council can do about it now.
Yeah,
You eased up the red tape.
right.
Uh,
I felt, and I my I'm guessing, of course, but my speculation on that is that, Dave spent all that money, all those years to do the flag building so that he has a little apartment on the seventh floor. And I do think he spends time there, although he's probably more at the Hacienda Gardens most of the time. Tom got his condo at the Windward, was it called, or something? I can't remember the name exactly. This the Sea Wind, or I'm forgetting now. But anyway, it was a bank building. They rehabbed it as a condo building. Tom bought the top two floors, a double floor condo, the ninth and 10th floors. And I thought that's got to bug Dave at some level. That Tom's condo is a little higher than his apartment at the flag building. And I thought that's why Moises Agami came in and said, I'm building 30-story towers, because guess who he's going to put in the penthouse?
All right, I'd like to believe that's the case. It's sad. I mean, it's really to the point now where it's like, what can we do? This this whole block, this Fort Harrison flag building, L. Ron Hubbard Hall, this now dominates the downtown in a way that I don't think the city can ever come back from. And I
Yeah.
had high hopes. And the other thing I was going to ask about, because we have this tentative deal. We have a deal that was worked out by our attorney with the Gotham project for the Bluffs, those apartments. We've had to go back and back and back and renegotiate that over and over and over. And we just this past week, the city gave him more leeway and more money back for the project, because we want to keep it alive. And that was before Trump crashed the economy. So I don't know if it will ever get built now. Um, but that's the same thing's going to happen with Slappy. They're going to come back and say, "Oh, we need more time." Well, yeah, it's going to cost you what, 300,000 a year for that. Okay, hey, you got 300? You can give me? Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
How hard is it for them to get $300,000 if they want to postpone
That's a
it?
good point. The schedule they laid out tonight was that Scientology has until 2029 to do whatever they want with that street. At that point, if they want more time, they're going to have to pay $300,000 a year up to 2033.
Yeah.
And at that point, they'll be out of time. But
Mhm.
like you said, $300,000, that's, he can just tell some OT8 to write a check. No big deal.
And I tell you,
Um,
when they run out of time, I'm sure they'll get more time.
yeah.
They've already started building something on Garden Street. Garden Street no longer exists, so they haven't finished the hall. But what good is it to us now? Let's give them time to continue to destroy the city. I know that's going to happen.
Do they forget that, like you said, groundbreaking for the flag building was it was 1991. It
Right?
wasn't 1998. It was either 92 or 93. That's right.
Are you
Because
sure? Because
yes, it was 92 or 93, and they didn't finish that until 2013. 20 years it took them to make the flag building.
I remember reading some article that, or maybe it was Mike Rinder who said it at one point, that to combat the negative press on Lisa McPherson, her death, when that got out in the news, they said, "Well, let's have a groundbreaking ceremony to put some good news about
Well,
science."
they may have had a
Good
second
news.
one. I just know that they announced it in like 92 or 93, and it took them 20 years.
Yeah,
Because I remember writing
and
about
I'm
it.
actually, I think, when I was doing a little fact checking on this, I did do a Google yesterday about what date it was, and I think I read that it was 98 there, but
Okay, maybe it was.
I could be
Yeah,
wrong. You know,
yeah, maybe it
at
was.
any
But
rate, it took
even
7
then, it's 15 years. Even then, it's
years.
15 years. So the idea that they're going to make L. Ron Hubbard Hall in the next 3 years, who knows?
They've got a billion-year contract for all the staff members to keep pounding on it. So their timetable is different from the cities. As Slappy said, when he didn't get the property he wanted back after the aquarium was chased out of town by him, I'll wait for the next council.
Yep.
They got me. He just waited for the next council. I
And
look
he
forward
did.
to him. He got what he wanted.
He got the counsel he wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, Mark, thank you for going there and speaking up and for talking to us about it. And I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if this town's ever going to learn its lesson.
I think it's too late. Thank you for allowing me to vent and to kind of decompress from the anxiety I was feeling listening to the idiotic comments from the folks on the council.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. And everybody, we're going to be posting this on our Substack and our YouTube channels tomorrow, so everybody can see it then. But those of you who joined us live, thank you so much. And thank you very much, Mark Bunker. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.